Today, you'll discover how to scale your business and become a more effective salesperson by integrating cutting edge AI with a human centered approach. James Mills, a seasoned sales executive and founder of BGA focused on AI powered sales enablement, shares how entrepreneurs can intelligently automate outreach without losing the personal touch while staying compliant and impactful in a highly regulated industry.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
Before I get into this episode fully, I wanted to say thank you to those who are listening to the podcast. Today, I want to send out a special shout out to those tuning in from New Zealand. I'd love to learn more about you. Would you send me a message at media@abnp.com? I'd appreciate it. Now to today's topic. So again, James, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Again, really looking forward to our conversation.
Well, I want to start first with the big picture. Like, how do you see AI transforming the sales landscape for entrepreneurs, and what role does the human touch still play?
No, it's a great question. A little bit about what I do is I probably spend 30% of my time talking to small business owners, and the remaining time I work with other financial professionals on coaching them how to scale their business. And the reason I say that is because what I've found the most important part of our industry right now, and the most important part of anyone's industry, is adopting AI and leveraging it to help you scale your business. And it is something that, you can really eliminate a lot of the overhead and the human capital that you necessarily need, but people still recognize when AI is reaching out to them. It's a lot of like the emails and I get texts all the time from people in my industry saying, "Hey, reach out." And it's like, well, I can obviously tell that was not thought through, that this is not content created on your own. And so much of what I talk to now, especially in sales and to a degree, business owners to any capacity as a salesperson, like we have to be entrepreneurial, and business development is the foundation of most businesses. We have to leverage AI in a way, and there's a bunch of technologies that I can throw out, but we have to leverage it in a way where it helps us to create the content that we're doing, right? We have to use it actually to automate reaching out to people. We have to do it to help us track our phone calls and understand and do the sales insights and just the insights in general. So we understand, like, all right, well, here's how these conversations are going, and here's how I can keep track of my pipeline. And yet so much of this conversation, again, to that point, you still need to have that touch, right? And so like some of the stuff that I do, that I coach towards for the financial professionals I work with, there's two, and I'm writing a book regarding this right now, and actually I'm working on the prospecting chapter as we speak. There's two technologies I've been talking a lot about. One is LinkedIn Sales Navigator and Dripify, and then the other is ZoomInfo. And so LinkedIn Sales Navigator and Dripify. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is probably one of my favorite tools that I use, where I can pretty easily come in and look for certain geographies, certain industries, the size of the company. So if I want to know, like, oh, I'm looking at people from 0 to 200 in terms of employee size, and I'm looking for founders, and I'm looking for, XYZ information, it'll kick out all of the information, like whoever I put in that geographical list. And so for me, as an example, if I'm targeting small business owners, there might be 2,000 small business owners in Cincinnati for the industry that I'm in, and it kicked out that list. And the hard part is how do I reach out to these people, right? Well, that's where Dripify can come in, an AI tool where it can have me come in and say, hey, I'm going to send a connection request to this person. And then if they don't respond to the connection request, or if they accept it, I can shoot them a message and say XYZ information, right? If they don't respond to that, I can view their profile and set it where 7 days later, I'll send another message to them. And that's a great automation tool. It's phenomenal, and it's scaled back my need to do cold calling. And I can really appreciate that. And I probably have like 10 meetings a week through this type of a methodology. But the hard part is that if I were putting in just pre-programmed responses, or if I even just go into ChatGPT and I say, hey, can you create a name or a message that I can send to small business owners? That's great. It's a good foundation. It's not something that like they will know. It's not something that's impactful enough where people will likely respond, right? Like the key is you still need to provide the value in the conversation. And so when I talk about that human touch, I talk quite a bit of the challenger sale. I don't know, Candy, have you ever heard of the challenger sale?
Mm-mm.
The challenger sale is my favorite sales book, and I'm a nerd for sales. But that one's probably one that I've talked the most about. And what the challenger sale does is if you're a salesperson for any industry, doesn't matter the industry, your clients will likely have the same issues as other clients. And so for me, when as a financial advisor reaching out to small business owners, right, I know they likely are having issues with succession planning on getting out of the business. They're having issues with retaining top talent, and they might also be struggling to, untie the knot of their personal finances and their business finances. And there's a couple key statistics and psychological ideas in that. Like one, the idea of the 3 points. When you solve down your story to 3 main points, it makes you psychologically more predisposed to remembering those 3 points, and you can expand on those as much as you need. But the secondary point is I can go up to a business owner and say, hey, my other clients who are like you are dealing with these 3 points because they don't want to hear from me. They want to hear from people like them. And then the other main human element to this idea is the fact that, you have these 3 points, you have that I'm providing value, right? I'm not just coming in and I'm saying, hey, look at me as your financial advisor. Or I'm not just going to financial advisors because that's the other side of my business on the B2B side. I'm not just going to them and saying, hey, look at the solution I can bring. I'm bringing valuable insights where I'm not being pushy. I'm not selling them a product. I'm being an insightful partner. And I think at the end of the day, that's what everyone's looking for. And so when I coach some of these ideas, Dripify, LinkedIn does a great job of like a wide net, and it's about crafting that pitch, crafting why you're really worth someone's time in a short, very brief message to capture someone's attention and get them to respond. And the other technology is very similar. It's ZoomInfo, and ZoomInfo does a very similar thing where you can look up business owners, and you can actually have a some targeted words. So, Candy, have you ever been on ZoomInfo? Have you ever like agreed to their cookies and stuff?
Well, I see stuff pop up when you're going to log in for a Zoom meeting or something too, and then it has the little screen afterwards that says, that you can look at it, but I have actually not looked into it.
Well, it's ZoomInfo is cool because like for business owners, any business owner, not even in my industry, if I wanted to try to look up like a CEO's email or phone number or like people within that company, ZoomInfo typically has that information. And so I can go in and I can say, all right, well, for P&G, since I'm in Cincinnati, for P&G, what's the CEO's email? Right. And you might want to cater more to like, for me, it's more middle market and smaller markets. But I say that because if you ever go on their website to look that up, or even just go on their website, there's cookies in it. And if you accept the cookies, I don't like Big Brother. I'm going to throw that out. Like I don't like how much our information's online. But as a salesperson, I can appreciate it because when you have your cookies selected from going to the ZoomInfo website, it actually ends up tracking the data of what you're typing. And so if I can flag in ZoomInfo, I can flag for sentiment where someone might from this certain company in my area, for me, might have typed in financial advising or insurance, or I could set the pre-filtered words of what I want to find on that, right? And who and flagged words that might push for what I'm trying to provide value for. And it'll do it on a weekly basis and stuff. And so it's a more targeted approach. But to that same end, I have to walk in with smart, intelligent human writing that
Right.
doesn't necessarily equate to, hey, here's my canned email that I've sent to 100,000 people, right? Like, here's something
Right.
that's targeted for your industry that, is engaging enough where you are willing to respond back to me. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Right. Well, there's quite a few things I was thinking of while you were talking. And one of the things is if you're talking about, like, let's say these emails, right? And you're saying don't have these canned emails. You want to have things. I know a lot of people don't feel comfortable, especially any longer, maybe writing things themselves because they're thinking, well, I'm not as good of a writer. And so I'm just going to, put the stuff in. Chat can give me, whatever they're going to say, and I'm just going to send it off. And then it sounds better than if I were doing it myself, yet it's not really authentic. It's not you, per se. So I don't know if you want to touch on that even is we are still trying to be human and connecting human to human, but we're being told to, like, if you're going to succeed, you need to start using AI tools or you're going to be left behind. And, people already aren't confident. So I'd love you to touch on that maybe.
No, and that's a great point and a great question. I mean, the fact is that I can't remember the meme term that's been going around, clanker or something like that, where everyone's like, hey, everyone's becoming so reliant on technology to the point where, me as a parent, I have two small ones at home. And even now I'm finding myself going to ChatGPT to be like, hey, how do I deal with this? And it's great, but there is kind of an over reliance component to it. And
Mhm.
so on that same token, like when you look at people who are leveraging email and they're doing emails crafted by AI, again, in my opinion, it's a great foundational tool. Um,
Mhm.
the return on investment for sending out generic emails from that kind of content, or even like the LinkedIn content, right? Because I use LinkedIn pretty regularly, and when I go out and I just post stuff that I pulled from ChatGPT, I'm getting like 3 likes or 7 likes or something like that. But then most recently, I just posted, hey, I'm going to be at the Medicarian conference and doing a keynote, and it was something I personally wrote that ended up
Mhm.
30 likes, and so like people
Mhm.
can resonate with the authenticity and genuineness. But I say all that because what I tend to do is I pull up ChatGPT and I might say, hey, write a response or uh, write an email on this particular concept or campaign that I'm trying to write, right? And then I might scale it down. The key is to look at it and rewrite it in your own words, right? Rewrite
Mhm.
it where it
Right.
sounds like it's coming from you. And I mean, there's some concepts I throw out that like ChatGPT it makes it hard and pick your large language model. But
Mhm.
the hard part is I've often also found that like they're very wordy and they like don't go in depth enough, or maybe they go too in depth. And so like again, it's a matter of knowing your audience and stuff. But what I
Mhm.
tend to lean on is that when I write an email, for me personally, I'll do you typically have 3 sentences to capture anyone's attention, and you have a couple main issues that you're going to struggle with writing any email, right? The number one is getting someone to open it,
Mhm.
right? That's where a good subject line that captures someone's attention and they already see the value based on that subject line is going to be key. Two is getting them to read the email, which is why you only have roughly 3 sentences. So instead of saying, hey, Candy, hope you're well, I might just dive right into it of like, hey, Candy, blah, 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 and then
Right.
the third main issue is getting them to respond. And so that
Mhm.
response aspect is more along the lines of, did you communicate enough value in that conversation or in that email where it's worth the person's time? And that's the key for any sales or any entrepreneurship is you
Mhm.
have to be worth your client's time.
Right.
But the flip side is did you also imbue a call to action where someone wants to respond? And so, like for me, working in finance, if I'm sending an email out saying, "Hey, Candy," most of my clients say they're struggling with succession planning and getting out of the business. I have a lot of clients with that, would love to chat with you. Does next Tuesday or Wednesday work best? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's an email that ChatGPT wouldn't have done, but it's a problem, an insight that I can pull from ChatGPT that, hey, succession planning is a problem that this industry is going to have, right? And there's a couple other like psychological things because as you've probably told already, like I'm a nerd when it comes to sales. I'm a nerd when it comes to like business. Like, hey, I like looking into that stuff, and so I say all that because when you look at some of these concepts that I just kind of thrown out as one, we're looking at the value and being worth their time, but two, I assumed I already got the meeting, right? And I communicated very quickly. Here's your value proposition. I can fix that. I assumed I got the meeting. And then because of that stronger language, people are more psychologically predisposed to saying, yeah, no, I already got the meeting. And then the two dates that I threw out, the Monday and Tuesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday, whatever I said, that also increases your likelihood that someone's going to respond. And so when you look at some of those psychological ramifications, that's stuff that like ChatGPT is not looking at some of the statistics behind it. Like, yeah, they're doing a lot of computations and it's all based on the algorithm aspect, but they're not necessarily looking at it from the psychological perspective that we might innately, like you and I, when we craft an email, or anyone who's listening to this podcast right now, they're more inclined to just have those things in their mind because they're a person. You can do that math in your head without necessarily doing the math in your head. And so like that would be, to answer your question in a more short manner, is just I leverage ChatGPT as much as I can, especially for content creation, but it can't just be through what they say. It's just a great starting point so that you can kind of change it and word it to where it's more engaging for your own audience.
Right. Well, even coming back to human touch, another thing, I find that gets frustrating too is a lot of companies now, they don't even give you a phone number. If you have a problem, you need customer service, you can't even call, right? You have to chat, or they, of course, have the little, text box that comes up and says, "Hi, I'm so and so," whatever name of the little agent is, and ask me a question. And it never feels that when I'm putting in things, it doesn't have the right answer. And then I become more and more frustrated, right? I would much rather talk to a human being, get the answer I need, And so for my company, and I'm hearing all the time, like, you have to have agents, you're going to be falling behind. People want an answer right now, And so I do not have on my website or on my phone system, where AI is answering all the questions and you're not talking to a human. And maybe I am falling behind, but I have, during office hours, when you call, you're going to talk to a person, and we're going to send you the email and we're going to follow up directly with you. And if you have a question, you can reach out to us. So I guess my question is, I would love to kind of find out from you. Yes, there are some efficiency things to it that you're obviously not having as high expense in terms of payroll too, because you don't have the person sitting in there to do all the things. Yet it is very impersonal and you often don't get the information that you need. So how do you balance that as a business so that you could provide information, give great customer support, yet when that technology maybe doesn't work, that you can have that human being there? And how can we connect that so that people can actually talk to a person if they need to, right?
That's a great point, and it's funny too because as you were saying that, in my head, I'm thinking about all the times that I've been on an automated phone call, and I'm like, "Talk to a human," like yelling into it, and so I recognize that it's something that as technology progresses, I think we will continue to see more development towards that type of better answers and stuff like that. But really, how I've been leveraging it and how I've been coaching others to be leveraging it is it's been phenomenal for helping me manage my day. So it's been great. in that regard. I use technology quite a bit, and AI quite a bit for like note taking too. For
Mhm.
like I'm in conversations, my note taking app is great to say like, hey, here are the action items and the sentiment that your client had while you were on that conversation. So that's been super helpful. Um, from that standpoint, I have an assistant that you call in, you'll talk to him, and he'll be able to answer all your questions. But the flip side is if
Mhm.
you're calling me directly and I'm tied up, I have an AI bot that will answer and say, hey, leave him a message. You can also schedule through me to talk when he's next available. Here's his calendar and stuff. And so there's a
Mhm.
bunch of technologies out there like that where it's parts of the industry that can be where you can have that level of efficiency that's not necessarily just service related. But on the flip side,
Mhm.
you go into my website as a financial advisor that I might be working with, and um, you want to look at how your portfolios are doing and how the investments that you're recommending to your clients through me are doing and stuff like that. And there's AI that can keep track of all of that, and so it hopefully will answer 90% of the
Mhm.
questions, right? And you can do a lot of the modeling and the forecasting and everything that you need from that AI tool. But there will always be a need, in my opinion, for some kind of human to answer some of the more nuanced questions that AI just won't be able to do. And the hard
Mhm.
part is there's going to be, and there's going to continue to be this for when we're looking at the servicing side of things. Like there will always continue to be that trial by fire conversation of,
Mhm.
hey, if I'm leveraging AI, unfortunately, we're going to meet its limitations, and then it's going to bypass those limitations, and it's going to continue to grow. But there will always be a point where there's a difference between me and you and an AI tool, But I
Mhm.
think where I talk about it most, and where I find kind of the benefit the most. And actually, on my website, I have an AI playbook that I talk quite a bit about. But the AI playbook goes into how you can leverage it for prospecting, how you can leverage it for emails, and the different tools that you can use for that. And I'm pulling it up right now so I can actually be a little more educated on like, hey, here's the different areas that you can kind of rely on. But I have it for prospecting. I have email outreach and messaging. I have cold calling and call intelligence and sales coaching tools, CRM intelligence and deal forecasting, AI assistance and writing tools, and then sales enablement and content tools. And then for my own industry, being in finance, there's a lot of like portfolio and investment managing tools that I can use. And so,
Mhm.
you know, the like the it depends on the industry. There's going to be AI, of course, that will shake up the industry that doesn't necessarily need the human touch, like manufacturing
Mhm.
as an example, and how they do lean, how they rely so heavily on technology in those industries. Like a lot of this can be automated, but the flip side is there's always going to be stuff where you need to have that human touch. But I think if you look at ways that you can enhance your conversations and use technology for the benefit, and leverage it in a way where you're getting rid of some of the time off your plate and you're getting some of the time off
Mhm.
plate for your assistant. Like you might turn a conversation from, hey, I was spending 8 hours a day. Like for me, I was probably spending 8 hours a day cold calling and emailing
Mhm.
and mass emailing and stuff like that. And because of automated outreach, where I'm in control of the messaging, now that's probably down to an hour. And so like it's a
Mhm.
matter of finding the balance within your business. But again, if I can automate my messaging that I've created, or if I can automate or I can keep track of like my deals from that. Like I use AI a lot too for follow-ups where I'm like, hey, this is when I need to follow up, and here's what I want to say for this follow-up, and it automatically shoots it out for me when that date comes up. And so it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. But again, I still had to craft the message, and I still have to
Mhm.
service the person, and at the end of the day, I still have to be the relationship, not my AI. So much of business is analog in the sense that you are building a relationship. People want to do business with people they like, but
Mhm.
also people that can fix their problems. And so if my AI tool, any of these AI tools that I'm kind of highlighting, they're not going to be the ones providing the valuable insights, building that relationship, and at the end of the day, going out to drinks with people, you know?
Right. Right. Well, I know we are coming to the end of the time that we have together, so I did want to ask, like, do you have an offer, that you would like to share with our listeners? And also, if they want more information and they want to touch base with you, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. You can go to my website, ironvestfinancial.com. Again, I work with individuals from their investment plans, and then I also work with financial professionals on coaching. And surprisingly, a lot of the small business owners have leaned into the coaching as well. From that standpoint, James Mills, MBA, CRPC, that's on LinkedIn. And then I also have a book that I'm writing that will come out here relatively soon. It's catered mainly towards the financial industry, but a lot of these same concepts that we're talking about are incorporated in the book because financial advisors are running their small businesses themselves. And so that's going to be real growth for advisors, modern investment practices for the modern advisor. So again, just really appreciate the chance to connect with you on some of these topics.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, James, for being a guest on my show and talking on this topic. And I know so many people are interested in AI and how to use it properly and all of the things. But again, we're trying to balance the human side of things too. So thank you for being here today and discussing it.
Yeah, thank you.
And to the listener, if you enjoyed today's topic and you want to hear additional information, you can find access to exclusive content in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.